Welcome back. You know, over the years, we have featured a lot of cities, a lot of communities around South Florida that have interesting identities and characteristics. Well, today we're going inside one enclave in Fort Lauderdale that's doing some pretty amazing things. I sat down with Carmen Ackerman. She's the project manager of the Riverwalk Arts and Entertainment District. Check out what she had to say. Carmen, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Nick. Thanks so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
So let's set the stage, as I always like to start there. Explain to me exactly what the Arts and Entertainment District is.
Well, the Arts and Entertainment District is a physical location. It's right along the downtown Fort Lauderdale area, along the New River in Fort Lauderdale, which is actually where Fort Lauderdale was founded originally. And we have all of these fantastic venues. We have the Broward Center for the Performing Arts. We have the Museum of Art. We have the Stranahan House, which is the first historic place where the settlers actually lived and moved into. It was the trading post way back when, 100 years ago. We have the History Center of Fort Lauderdale, and right at the other end of the river we actually have the Bonnet House Museum and Garden. So we have like all of these really cool places. We have a Museum of Discovery and Science for kids. So there's all these wonderful venues.
And the IMAX.
And the IMAX, that's right, fantastic IMAX theater.
So how would you characterize it? I mean, like, you know, if you think about other districts in South Florida, you've got like, I mean, the Design District or South, you know, Lincoln Road, South Beach. What makes this district unique and give it its character?
I think what makes it unique is that we have a little bit of everything. We have a little bit of history thrown in with a little bit of art, thrown in with some performances. So there's all kinds of cool things. Some of it is free. For example, the first Sunday of every month, you can come on down to the Riverwalk and you can experience jazz brunch, which is all along the Riverwalk. We have music, we have vendors, we have food going on. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things. And some of it is performance driven. We have amazing concerts. We have a great Broadway series. We have all of these really cool children's events, like if you want to do a family fun series for your kids. So there's all these really fun things to do. And what makes it special is that there's a little bit of everything. It's very diverse. So there's something for everyone.
But it's incredibly culturally rich.
Incredibly culturally rich. You know, you could spend an entire day. You could come and hang out at the Museum of Discovery. Then you could do a river ghost tour on a Sunday evening. You could take in a great concert like a Natalie Cole, who's coming, you know, later on in the season. I mean, there's just all kinds of really fun things. Makes it very special.
Now, one thing I actually like about the district that I think is different than a lot of other places in South Florida is the water taxi. It's like you can use the water taxi. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. You could come, you know, what's really fun about Fort Lauderdale, first of all, you know, we're the Venice of America. So that makes
people
it really...
forget that.
Yeah, people forget that, but it's such a cool thing because we have all this intra-system of canals and all this way to get around, and we use it. We use it through using the water taxi. So you could hop on the water taxi. You could actually buy an all-day pass. You could hop on and off. You could go to the IMAX theater to catch your favorite film. Then you could go down across the river and have a cocktail somewhere. Then you could come back and maybe do the Museum of Art for an afternoon exhibit, and then round off by hopping back on it and having dinner somewhere along the intercoastal. So there's so much to do. The other way that we can get around in the downtown area is through the Sun Trolley. You know, the Sun Trolley really provides such a wonderful opportunity. People can hop off. Some of the rides are actually complimentary. Some are like as cheap as 50 cents. So you could ride the trolley all day, all the way from the ocean, where all of the hotels are, all the way down into the Sunrise Boulevard and all the way around Fort Lauderdale.
So it's not really like you have to sit inside just the district. I mean, there's so much of downtown Fort Lauderdale that this helps sort of enunciate it.
Absolutely. What we tend to do at the Riverwalk A&E District is we promote everything that's happening in the downtown Fort Lauderdale area. We make it very accessible for people to come on down. We give them maps. We give them information about all the transportation that there is. We give them all the events.
Right?
We have this guide. Thank you very much, Vanna. Let me use my Vanna White. What we do with this guide is once a year. It's actually coming out November, December this year. We promote everything that's going on in the district within the year. And we also give a handy map, so whether you're visiting for a day or you're down here, you know, as a resident like we are, you know, it's a wonderful little tool so you can sort of map out and plan what you want to do.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk about some specific events coming up. Now, I know one of the places that you talked about that you partner with is the Broward Center.
That is correct, yeah.
So, what do we got coming up there?
Oh my gosh, what don't we have coming up? We have, first of all, if you love theater, like I do, I'm a theater goer, I love it. We have probably one of the best seasons we've ever had. We have amazing Broadway productions. One of them, as a matter of fact, War Horse, which is still playing to sold-out audiences on Broadway. we are making the first South Florida debut. It's going to be right here in Fort Lauderdale at the Broward Center for the Performing Arts. We have Sister Act. We have $1 Million Quartet, which is Elvis, and I think I'm dating myself, but it's got all these, Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis and all these wonderful performers. So that's just that. Then if you love classical music, you've got to come and listen and come and participate in the classical series at the Broward Center. Yitzhak Perlman, who's the world's renowned violinist, is coming in February. In addition to that, we have an amazing classical series. Then we have performances like I mentioned earlier, Natalie Cole is coming to perform at the Broward Center. So we have an amazing season of just wonderful concerts, anything you can imagine. Then we have a great family fun series as well. And this is just a few of the things that we have going on. There is always something. Almost every week you can catch 3 or 4 or 5 different performances happening within the Broward Center stages. And also our partner down the street, the Parker Playhouse, which is a beautiful historic theater, is also part of the Broward Center's family of theaters. So we have some wonderful performances happening there as well.
Now, we touched on it, but I've never gone in there, so if you can help me paint a picture of what the Stranahan House is. I understand its historical significance, but what's your experience like when you go to the Stranahan House?
If you haven't been, you really have to go, because it's sort of like stepping back in time. First of all, it's one of the most beautiful little houses you could ever see. Years and years ago, about 100 years ago, Frank Stranahan actually came down the river and decided to sort of be one of the founders of the city of Fort Lauderdale. And he married, and of course I'm abbreviating this wonderful little story, but he married actually the school teacher at the time, whose name was Ivy Stranahan. And I happen to love Ivy's story in particular because she was one of these women's libber before there was ever a women's lib movement. She used to she was a vegetarian, and she used to swim on the river, and she was just a really cool woman. And she taught a lot of the Seminole children who didn't know, obviously English or how to read and write. She taught them how to read and write. So the whole home has just been beautifully restored. In addition to that, the Stranahan House has a really kind of a fun and quirky history, and they love to sort of boast about all the ghosts that live in the area. So on any Sunday evening, you can actually take a water taxi ride and learn about the ghost history of Fort Lauderdale as you're going on this beautiful water taxi ride down the New River. The month of October is a really cool time to visit the Stranahan House because they do all of these really cool things, like they take it's sort of like a Victorian funeral. So they'll put like a coffin in the main room, and they tell stories about the ghosts. It's really awesome. And then around the holidays, they decorate the house the way a Victorian home would have been decorated, with beautiful lights and beautiful trees, and just really lovely. So it's a beautiful home, and not only is it beautiful to look at, but the history behind it and the stories that are told are really, really special.
It helps you feel connected to the community, for sure.
Very connected, and it's a beautiful setting right along the New River. So you have to see it. You can't miss it.
I will not.
Okay.
Okay, so we only have time for one more. So tell me like one other gem of a spot in the district that people can't miss.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's so many things, but I don't think I mentioned one of my favorite I mean, all of my partners are favorites, sort of like which child do you like better? But I happen to love the Florida Grand Opera. If you haven't had a chance to go see an opera or to listen to some of the gorgeous music, I would say that's the one thing that you can't miss. The Florida Grand Opera is one of the oldest opera companies in the entire country, and they bring in performers from all over the world to sort of perform operas here in Fort Lauderdale. They have an amazing season coming up. They have La Traviata, they have the Magic Flute. So if you haven't had a chance to see a Florida Grand Opera performance, then please come and see one this season, because you really can't. Tickets I think start something like $21. That's how inexpensive it is, and you can just see sort of the beauty of the opera and the way people dress, and it's just such a magical experience to have that at the Broward Center. But I'm missing my other partners. I'm missing the gorgeous Bonnet House Museum and Gardens, which you can't miss because that's a Florida icon.
Of course.
And of course, the Fort Lauderdale History Center. I mean, that has a wonderful, the first hotel ever in Fort Lauderdale was right there.
Right.
So there's some really cool things. So I try to get everybody in. I hope I did.
No, of course you did. And if she missed anybody, my fault.
Yeah, her fault.
Carmen, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the time. We appreciate it too.